Hello and welcome to episode 7?
It is a 7, odd number, my pitch.
Yeah, welcome to episode 7 of Let's Make a Horror Movie podcast. This is the podcast where you join myself, Dave,
and me, John,
on our horror adventure, which basically consists of every episode, one of us pitches a horror movie to the other one, and the other one adds to it, I don't know, suggests things.
builds upon it.
Builds upon it, yeah.
Inspired by.
Adds bits to it like birds would with sort of mud and stuff to a nest.
Yeah, we are adding mud.
We're adding mud. So yeah, and so that's the podcast. The podcast is 3 acts. First act is feedback on last episode's idea,
Which is your pitch.
which was my one. So if you haven't heard that, and well, you really ought to have.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Go back,
Up your game.
listen to that. Put everything down.
Yep.
Put everything down and that, and then go back and listen to it. So yeah, Act 1 is feedback on that. Act 2 is John and I's cultural highlights of the week, which we try and concentrate on horror.
Yep.
And
we do our best.
do our best. And then in Act 3, we hear this week's pitch, which, as John mentioned, is his.
Yeah.
Because we're episode 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the odds and you're all the evens.
That's it.
Simple system.
So it's been a fucking crazy 2 weeks since the last episode.
Oh, I've been mad.
I went to Scotland, sequestered myself in the wilderness for a while.
Yeah, back in the heaving bosom of your mother country.
That's it. I went to visit Nuckalavy country. I actually bought some Orkney whiskey when I was... not whiskey, I'm lying. Orkney gin.
Ooh, I didn't know that was famous for
I don't know if it is, but everyone's making gin, isn't it? Like
everyone's trying to handle it.
Everyone's got a fucking gin. My neighbour's got a gin. It's like Dave's neighbour's gin. You can get it in like bespoke supermarkets.
It's just piss in a jar, but they call it gin.
Yeah, so I think at the moment we are the only people in England not making a gin.
I've got time, mate.
Yeah.
I have got a gin making kit that was gifted to me, and I have not used
Well,
it
you
yet.
can start making your own.
It's a slow gin making kit.
Oh, slow gin's nice.
Yeah, I love slow gin. This is what my friend bought it for me.
Ah, well, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, and it is living up to its name because I've not started it yet, so it's incredibly
So yeah, so it's been a crazy 2 weeks. You went to, well, you know what, we'll get on to, you went to Fright Fest.
Yeah, mate, save it.
You had Horror Christmas, and there's a lot to cover there. So we'll get to that in
Let's spill Act 2 into Act 1.
well, I did that last time as well. I just can't wait.
You're just splashing it all over the place.
I'm hungry.
You are a thirsty one.
Oh, I am. So I'm a thirsty chick. Just, I don't know. My brain's not really working. Sunday morning and...
I mean, just to clarify, 1 p.m.
Still my morning. Morning consists... it's all relative to when you get up.
It is.
It's not relative to... I don't run by the, the accepted...
Oh, no, you are a real trendsetter.
Oh, set on my own trends.
Yeah.
I don't see daylight or night time. I don't see that.
No.
I've like transcended that. So, anyway... last week was my pitch.
Yeah, the Haymakers Daughter. Very, very good.
That's right.
Post-apocalyptic, would we say? Or would we say in-apocalyptic?
So I don't even know if it's an apocalypse. Like, I see that as a slow decline. Or a quick decline. But, like, for me, I think of apocalyptic things as things that are somewhat out with people's control.
Yes.
So, like, meteor hits planet, huge natural disaster, I don't know, nukes go off.
Yeah.
And I know you could argue that nukes going off are within some people's control. Yeah. But in terms of the vast majority of people, they're impotent when it comes to whether or not they want to launch or not launch nuclear.
Never forget, we have no control over the nukes.
Yeah.
Everybody should never forget that.
Oh, you mean literally we don't? Yeah.
It could happen at any time and we have no control.
We have no control, that's true.
Keeps me up at night.
Trident is entirely controlled by POTUS. Anyway,
steady hands at the helm now.
Steady hands and a strong, stable genius at the helm. Look, we don't want to get onto that. We're not a political podcast.
We're not political.
And I don't even really know what any of it means. Last episode was Haymakers Daughter. So we've got some feedback from buddy of the show, J-Dubs, who...
Hello, J-Dubs.
Hey, J-Dubs. I actually met J-Dubs last week when I was visiting.
He is real.
He is real. And he's not just me. And I made his 9-year-old daughter cry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just as I was leaving. So it was like...
Best time to do it, mate.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that was a bit of a to-do.
How?
Well, so it followed this kind of thing where she's really into Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Harry Potter.
Who isn't? It's amazing.
So I was like, oh, you're into Harry Potter. So she quite rightly showed me her Harry Potter collection, I guess you'd call it. And
I like already.
so, yeah, exactly. And so, you know...
Well done, J-Dubs.
You're talking Lego, you're talking wands, you're talking house badges, you know,
Nice.
the usual stuff, right? Then it transpired, so she's a Ravenclaw,
Who
as
isn't?
it turned out.
As am I, actually.
Who isn't? A lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, who isn't?
Yeah.
Most of the other characters in the movie.
But so she was in Ravenclaw, and it turned out, much to her chagrin, I had not been sorted. I'd never sat beneath the sorting hat.
My silence there is dismay.
Do you have a house? Have you
Yeah, Ravenclaw, mate.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not just saying that because
No,
I
really,
said
no.
it.
No,
This
really.
isn't another. This isn't another.
I don't know any of them.
It's not another Clive
Yeah, no.
situation. is it?
I'm House Sith.
All right. Well, we'll say just for brevity that I believe you.
No, really, I'm Ravenclaw because they're
Ravenclaw.
all smart, aren't they?
Well, there you go, J-Dubs. If you're listening, which hopefully you will be, you can let your oldest know that Lesser John is a Ravenclaw as well.
Shout out to J-Dubs' daughter.
Yeah. I can't imagine she'll give two fucking hoots.
Whoa, Ravenclaw, mate, it's a Bond.
Anyway,
You die with that Bond.
so I did the sorting hat thing, and by the time I got to the... Because it's a whole thing. You've got to answer all these like really kind of weird esoteric questions.
No,
You know,
it's
like,
serious business.
Yeah, it's like, would you rather the sun had a hat on or was wearing a smile? And you're like, well, they're both pretty good. I mean... I don't know. So, you know, so it's all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And so it turned out in the end, by the time I got to the end...
Yeah.
The sorting hat sorted me into Gryffindor, right?
Ooh, well done.
And I, you know, having got the memory of a goldfish and forgotten what happened about 4 minutes prior, started celebrating that I was in Gryffindor. Just like, yes, Harry Potter's house. Ooh, it's like that. And then J-Dubs, bless him, joined in. And somebody else, I think J-Dubs' youngest might have joined in as well. And we're all just jumping up and down, shouting Gryffindor and punching in the air.
Like a group of Slytherin.
Yeah, and this is on my way out of the house. And then, then I turned around and I had made the Ravenclaw cry.
We're an emotional bunch.
Yeah, so, and then I thought, well, that's typical me, really.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many girls that Harry Potter makes cry. So I would question the hat's accuracy at this point.
I'm a double agent for Slytherin.
Yeah.
Let's even suggest that the sorting hat doesn't know what the fuck it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah? Maybe it's just a hat.
Yeah.
I mean, who really
Fuck off, you Leslie Phillips voice. Piece of clothing.
Look, all I'm saying is maybe don't trust sentient hats to make life-changing decisions. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we figure out who's going to be a surgeon based on what the flat cap looks like when it's on their head.
It's not as if our country has a magic hat that we all go and visit and think it's somehow important.
Yeah, more's the pity, because otherwise we might not have a far-right government.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. So J-Dubs, sorry, he has written in some feedback for us.
Yeah.
And again, apologies to your daughter. So...
She'll always have offending me.
So, dear strong female lead podcast, I'll keep this briefish as well thought out responses appear.
I just got what he meant. Yeah.
I'll keep this briefish as well thought out responses appear counterintuitively to be unwelcome. Well, let me just interject there, John, and say I'm sorry that last episode I didn't stop reading the feedback. I said, I don't know if we've got time to cover it all. Yeah. But then we did. So, you know, it's not unwelcome. It was a loose question raised.
Dismissive, like a true Gryffindor would.
Anyway, so he says, I'm not picking favourites, but John, and he spelled your name Jhoyn. John was on fire. The theme's starting to emerge in the podcast. So far, a clear love of Mad Max style near futures, a strong connection to separated families, and strong daughters in particular.
Yep.
Apparently, we're running a 50% clip for strong daughters as the lead, which I hadn't looked at, but I'm glad someone's running the stats.
Yeah, I do have a strong daughter. She is the alpha of our house.
Well, so here's apparently there are no stupid women in your universe. So I'm gonna.
Sorry,
hang on.
Could he name a few in ours?
Well, I'm just going to say, on that note, right, you know, without wanting to get too philosophical about it, frankly, I think of women as having to be more wily, more fucking on guard, more aware, because just altogether more reactive and responsive to the world we're living in, because they have the fucking shitter deal. If you're a white man in a Western culture, everything is created and made for you.
I think to build on your point, I think women are asked to be more caring and asked to take more responsibility, where men just bumble through and everyone goes, every time a man does something great, they kind of go, oh, well done, man. Well done. Whereas like a woman, it's like, if anything's not perfect, it's like, oh shit, up your game, love.
Yeah.
So I think in our stories, when I'm trying to write a character personally who is taking responsibility for an issue that's maybe not of her creation, I do automatically go for a female character because it seems to be more in line with what I know.
Yeah.
Women tend to be forced to take more responsibility.
And I don't think, just lastly on this, I don't think I set out to make women the non-stupid characters. I just think, broadly speaking, from my life experience,
they're the non-stupid characters.
They are the non-stupid characters more than the men are. The men tend to be the dumb fucks, who make the bad decisions, who make this sort of penis-led decisions or whatever, which is, they're not making decisions based on logic or critical analysis or something. And, perhaps it's fair to say there are no stupid women in our universe, but that's a universe I'm quite happy with, I guess.
Yeah, I think that. I think horror, you'd be hard pushed to find, particularly in like modern horror films, where a woman is the sort of the point of blame. Because even when horror films, when you have like a ghostly woman or some kind of like spectre or anything else, normally she's been wronged and has been pushed to it. You rarely get pure malice on whereas in a lot of horror films, if you do see a character who's completely pushed forwards by their desire for just to hurt, tends to be a bloke.
I guess
it's an interesting point.
It's an interesting point. It just wasn't something I'd really thought about.
I think it's a fair thing to point out though, because we have had a real run of female-led stuff, but then again, I mean, I've put it down to I'm not necessarily emulate the best, but trying to maybe be inspired by films that I enjoy.
Yeah, I guess.
And I think with a few exceptions, like maybe The Thing, you do tend to see the female character be the one who's the best audience like surrogate. Yeah, because they're smarter and they sort shit out.
So he carries on. Regarding the pitch, I was wondering, why is it hard to leave the UK if there is no infrastructure? I feel there's a missing element to this restriction. Maybe passport control is now privatised or the preserve of the rich.
That's a fair point.
I'd love to see some glimpses of a toothless government crippled with no budget due to a collapse in collecting tax and no real power, but still in charge on paper. So, I just sort of thought, like, there is no centralised state, but those with money, who probably were the people at the front end pushing for this kind of libertarian ideal, because they're the least affected, just like now, they probably put some money into maintaining what it is they thought was important, and, maintaining that sort of Little Englander outlook would have been where they would have put money. So you probably would have had armed forces that are paid for by a cabal of rich people or wealthy interests, possibly former politicians or whatever. So I think I think there's room for how you can do it whilst still not having a centralised state.
I do think as well that one of the characteristics of all extremely ideologically led sort of like states throughout history, whether it's been like Nazi, Stalin, like the Chinese ones, everything else, there is a great fear of outside influence. So no matter how things are within the nation, there is a very strong border control always. Because essentially outside ideas tend to get people wondering, like, is this the best my life can be?
Right.
I mean, even like to like the downfall, but the softening of the church, for example, was because of outside influences, and also, to be fair, inside ones as well. But they do try and fight that. There's always been that kind of separation of like us and them, and that's always enforced by some kind of border control. So yeah, I think he raises a good point, and I think he's right. But I think it is implied in the story.
So anyway, it goes on to say part of the propaganda game could be the police lying to the politicians about their behaviour and the state of the country on the streets.
Yeah.
The government may believe they are doing well with limited resources. Obviously, they will have elected themselves as in power and in perpetuity to provide stability, and as such may never leave the Palace of Westminster.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, which is a fair point.
I like that.
I love the cold open. You could potentially tie in the initial incident into rippling collapse spreading from London and driving people out. Otherwise, it's disconnected from the story. So yeah, that is actually how I'd seen it. The cold opening scene of that was to try and show you, before you move to the protagonist and you find out who the story's about, it is essentially to try and set the scene of what's happening in the urban centres now.
You could actually have a kind of, almost a kind of marvelous post-credit scene returning to Clarence and his friend. So even though the Haymaker's daughter does actually escape, England is still England.
Yeah.
And it's only just gone inside. So it ends kind of bookends itself well with a kind of Clarence-esque character looking upon the state of play and how worse it's gotten.
So he's got some other good bits here. So Clive needs to die at the end due to his past as a cop. He doesn't deserve the redemption from what he...
Yeah, actually, you know what? I actually do agree with that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Fuck
2 weeks of chewing it over.
Clive, sorry.
Fuck you, Clive.
Yeah, our first Clive has come and gone.
So I don't know, because we did float the idea of Clive getting his head blown off right in that final scene when they're getting pulled aboard the international rescue boat. So maybe that's what we do it. Or maybe he goes back to try and save Ben, who you'll recall was on the shore getting... minced.
Yeah.
And so, you know...
Oh, gentle Ben.
I like Ben as the head down, it will all be okay farmer. I think you hit a good seam of conflict that'll drive it on. Oh, here we go. So, potential movie titles.
Ooh.
Libertarians Gandun Toon, which I guess is written Geordie. So, Libertarians Gandun Toon. We're Gandun Toon, mate. Brexit in Berwick.
Gandun Toon.
Or Brexit from Berwick. Bye bye Boris. Touching on a
jaunty,
bit of a current theme. Clarence and the Train of Doom. Marvellous Miss Maisie and the thinly veiled satire of the current political climate. Or,
I have no idea what he means.
Don't know, don't get it.
Gibberish, mate.
3 men and a little lady with guns.
I like to have quite a sort of pro-women piece of work, but a very sexist title. 3 men in a skirt.
So thanks, Stray Dubs, as always for your feedback.
Always great.
Always great. Always appreciated. And
keep them coming, mate.
Yeah. To any other listeners, you can email us at letsmakeahorrormovie@gmail.com about any of the pictures from any of the episodes. Yeah. Or you can tweet us at LamahnPod, LMAHM Pod.
Yeah.
With an @
You can see me trying to be funny and not working.
Or you can even head to our Instagram, which is just the same name as the podcast, but I think without podcast.
I did a tweet about quiche the other day. No one found it funny. I don't know what to make of it, mate. I think I'm just too old for this game.
You should have been up at the Edinburgh Festival with me, mate, because I think that kind of comedy gold would have gone down a treat there.
Oh, it was great. I mean, I'm fair now. It was pearls before swine, mate.
Great. Well, I guess on into Act 2 then.
Yeah, cultural highlights. I mean, I think I'd be remiss if we didn't touch upon Fright Fest.
Horror Christmas.
Yeah, it was always fantastic, and those guys absolutely smash it every single year. I'm not going to talk about every film because it would go on for too long and it'd be tedious.
Yeah, quick highlights.
Quick highlights. Main sort of highlights I want to mention. Why Don't You Just Die? It was an amazing Russian. I want to say Tarantino-esque, but that gives a wrong impression. It was a kind of thriller, kept you on the edge of your toes. Incredibly violent, but very good. Spiral was an Hereditary style mindfuck, really, with a same-sex couple in the 90s, against what appears to be some kind of cult. One to watch out for. I'd say it's like Hereditary, but in some ways it's maybe not quite as amazing in certain areas, but better in others. So just the end particularly fits the story better than with Hereditary. So yeah, really great. And the best film was Daniel Isn't Real, which is like Drop Dead Fred meets Hellraiser. One of my favourite films of all time.
Sadly, presumably not starring Rick Mayall.
Not starring Rick Mayall, I know. But it does star Patrick Schwarzenegger Arnold's son.
Pat Schwartz.
Yeah, old Patty Schwartz. He's absolutely amazing. It plays the imaginary friend. I don't know if it's available to watch anywhere yet. When it is, everybody should watch it. It was fantastic. And I'm reading a book that it's based on called And This Is How I Was Saved. Again, halfway through, it's brilliant.
Would we be thinking that was your, if you had to pick one, is that your...
Oh, so basically there's quite a lot of subtext about mental illness that the book leans into more, but the movie leans into other themes more.
Yeah.
So I would say they both fit nicely.
Sure, but in terms of your number one Fright Fest pick...
Yeah, number one, I would say go for the movie. The book's amazing. I've not finished it. But I mean,
I think you're missing my question. Out of the films that were showing at Fright Fest, because they don't show books at the film festival.
Okay, yeah.
So out of the films that were showing at Fright Fest, no, the book chat's good. Yeah. We all like books. Those of us still capable of reading, I think, still enjoy them.
Books are good.
Yeah,
we like books.
We like books. Okay, so good, but. Out of the Fright Fest movies...
Daniel Isn't Real was the best film I've ever seen at Fright Fest.
Wow.
Out of all the 5 years I've been going, I didn't have quite as strong a reaction to anything as I did this one. Oh, and also
That's cool, because we saw Victor Crowley at Fright Fest.
Victor Crowley is a close second.
That is an absolute joy of a film. Yeah.
Daniel Isn't Real just touched upon some stuff that I really absolutely loved. I won't spoil anything, but it is fantastic.
Is he not real?
Sorry, no, mate, you're gonna have to watch. You're gonna have to watch.
I was trying to get involved in spoilers.
The answer will surprise you. We also watched Ready or Not with Samara Weaving. Absolutely brilliant. I think that's going to get a big release. Yeah. You'd be a fool to yourself to not going to watch it. I smiled throughout.
Do you know the live action of Lady and the Tramp? I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that. But most of that, it's about an hour and a half. It's all just going to be mostly fucking dogs fucking on screen.
Rutting.
Because that's what would happen.
Yeah.
That's what would happen. There's a lot of butt sniffing, a lot of rutting, and then a lot of digging through fucking horrific garbage.
Yeah.
This is the thing, right? The poster for Lady and the Tramp, the new one, has them doing the spaghetti thing, the famous scene, right? And somebody, some genius on Twitter pointed out that wouldn't actually be spaghetti in this kind of true to life version. It would be like used tampons and like toilet roll and fucking the most just, and it's true. Like my dog,
he's always eating used tampons.
I'm not one of these people. I never look at something and start and go, oh, that makes me feel nauseous. Like that doesn't really happen to me. Like if I feel nauseous, it's because I'm genuinely ill.
Yeah.
The only 2 times in my almost 40 years of life that's happened has been seeing the things that my dog has gone to eat.
Wow.
And one time he ran off into the woods and he came back with something, and this is how I would describe it, right? It looked like if you took a big rat, skinned it, so just like, you know how you just deglove the fucking rat of its entire skin, right? Then ate it, but in like a single gulp rather than masticating.
Yeah.
And then it goes through the whole digestive system and it comes out with it in shit, right?
Oof.
So imagine you've basically got a sort of red raw cadaver of a rat that's kind of bloody and minging and covered in something.
Doesn't sound great.
My dog went and got that in its mouth and tried to eat it, and I had to tear it off him. And I was almost vomited all over it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And so that is what Lady and the Tramp, the live action film, really should be.
It should be that.
It's that.
I would watch that.
It's just an hour and a half of the audience with their hand over their mouth going, oh my god, they're not going to eat that.
Fingers.
Wait, is that one eating? The other one's sick. I
remember
a kid's film.
First time I ever tried an oyster. I was about 12. And I did it in the back garden because that's where you eat oysters, particularly in the Midlands. Yeah. we call it the oyster room. And then I ate an oyster.
It's like high society. You're all there in like top hat and tails.
Nothing counts. And then I sicked it up, and the dog we had at the time ate the vomited oyster.
There you go. And that is the live action Lady and the Tramp, ladies and gentlemen.
And that is cultural highlight.
The reason I'm even talking about it is it should be classed as a horror film.
Yeah.
Because of the visual horrors that should, in theory, play out if it's anything like what it should be.
Yeah.
But this is why I'd argue it should have stayed an animated thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm half expecting in the Cats movie to see them pissing up walls.
Oh, they're going to be
just
constantly
marking their territory everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to see Idris Elba just lift a leg and piss on one of the other ones.
Mate, we all do.
Anyway.
That's culture covered for last fortnight.
So I haven't done anything horror-y really, because I've been in Scotland, but I did go to the Edinburgh Festival, and I would just, this isn't horror, but I went to see a guy called Adam Hess, who anyone who likes British comedy will already know of, because he's very funny, but if you haven't heard of him already, Adam Hess, HESS, fucking great. And also went to see Jenna Friedman, who is a great American comedian, and her album is online. It's called American Cunt. So if you haven't heard or listened to that, get involved.
Yeah.
It's great.
I've heard good things. I'll be listening to it this week.
Yeah, so there you go. Under a minute of non-horror content.
Yeah, it's fine, mate.
Life happens, man. We've had this before.
Yeah,
so
fine.
what if I wanted to spend half an hour talking about Andrea Dorkin in the second episode?
Mate, it was gold.
Anyway. If this is the first episode you're listening to,
sorry,
don't go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2. Or if you do, just skip to the story, third act. So, I made Young Girl Cry, I saw some good comedians.
It's a classic Dave Holiday.
Yeah, if one of them hasn't happened,
I don't
go back to work unless one of those has happened.
When you came back from Cyprus, mate, and made a single girl cry, you were livid.
I just went out and found the first one I found. It was just, it's like, you're shit.
It was clumsy but effective.
Okay. I don't think I've got anything else to... I feel like loads has fucking happened. I'm sure more stuff will come to me. You'll have to excuse us, listeners. John and I have been fucking around for 2 weeks with very busy lives, and I feel like the structure of the first 2 acts of this particular episode may have suffered slightly.
It's like shifting sand, but we're trying to build a house on it nevertheless.
Yeah, well... Okay.
I think I aptly summed that up.
Yeah. So on that note, I guess it's probably time to move into your pitch.
Oh yes, pitch. And this one is not based on a dream. So.
Well, that's good. So
thanks
for all you people who do, if anyone actually skips to Act 3, which I don't know if anyone actually ever does. The crazy bastards.
Yeah.
But if you did, welcome to Act 3.
Yeah, hello, I'm John.
Get yourself a cup of tea. John's about to read you a nice little story.
It's a 2-pager, this one, so bear with me, everyone.
I'm just going to light a cigarette for the journey.
Mate,
Taking one for the journey.
Alright, cold open. Yeah, it's a very short cold open, this one. We pan across a forest floor. The mud and leaves are slick with blood. The wind shifts the leaves, and we hear monstrous giggling from an unseen source. That's your cold open. That's all you got, mate.
Wow.
Yeah, keeping it quiet this time. It's nothing bombastic in that one. So
we're just getting a
real like kind of slow pan. Maybe the credits start rolling. You just see like kind of blood slick on the leaves and on the moss and stuff, and you hear kind of like a strange gargled laughing. That's all you got. Nothing. No things. Yep. It's all. That's just all you got, mate. Work with it. It is autumn in Minnesota. Not in the Midlands today.
Oh my god! And specific state as well.
Oh mate, I've got it down to the town. I haven't.
I really wish I could do a Minnesotan accent. Is that one of the? It's not one of the ones that sounds ever so slightly Canadian, is it?
I think it might be. Yeah.
Like oh yeah.
Yeah, like I think. Yeah, like that, but nothing like that.
Okay, yeah, like that, but completely different.
Yeah, a bit Canadian.
Done by someone who knows what Minnesotans sound like. Well, thanks for picking one that I can't do the voice for, you bastard.
Alright, so we see a Scottish gentleman.
In Minnesota.
Where do you go, mate?
Yeah, he's an expat.
Yeah, he's living in Little Glasgow. It's autumn in Minnesota, and the cold is starting to come in. Amy and Scott live together in a small town and are engaged. Both work quite locally, and also both live in Scott's parents' annex. But they've got a happy life. Scott in his father's gardening business, and Amy in a local real estate office as an office clerk. They spend their free time in a local cinema, favourite bars, hanging with old school friends. They have comfortable and social lives. However, Amy keeps Scott to consider moving away to a new life. He argues that the life is comfortable and fun, and that the time with their friends is full of laughter. Amy argues that they spend their time having meals with Scott's parents, drinking and getting stoned with friends, and telling the same old stories, never making new ones. This hurts Scott's feelings somewhat, but as he likes his life. It's not a bad life. But also his lack of ambition is also hurting Amy. So that kind of just, so you Act 1's many set in scene,
really,
set in life. They just, I mean, I said they haven't got a bad life.
That tightly sets the scene.
Yeah, they haven't got a bad relationship either. It's just they've got slightly different sort of opinions of where they want to be.
Yeah, but you've got a kernel of conflict that actually, if never resolved, will just continue to grow.
I mean, mate, bear with me.
Yeah.
So basically, that. So
I mean, we all like getting, hanging around, getting stoned, and
it's great.
Rehashing old stories.
Yeah, I mean, news stories.
I got loads of them. I'm like a living glass menagerie. Like I'm a Tennessee Williams character. I'm just resting on my laurels from my high school days.
A real Houston
captain of the team. I don't know what team.
Doesn't matter, mate.
Doesn't matter. As long as you're a captain of the team. When you were 16, that's what really fucking matters.
Oh yeah, if your best days were in school, you've nailed it. Act 1 ends with Scott and his father on a gardening job on a large estate overlooking the woods. Someone calls from the tree line, sounding distressed, but there's a slight kind of laugh to their voice, like someone imitating a scared child. Scott calls over to his father that he's going to check it out, and he enters the woods. All the other sounds are instantly muted as he crosses the threshold, and all he hears is a high-pitched voice saying that it needs help as it is lost. Scott wanders through the trees and is shocked when he sees a strangely shaped creature almost folded in upon itself. He stares at the shape, unsure what he's even looking at. Then the odd childlike voice speaks again. This time it is clearly coming from the shape. It giggles and then says, "I'm glad you came. It has been such a lonely place." And the creature rises to its full height, easily 8 feet. Scott scrambles back, turns away from the creature and attempts to run. The creature laughs again, but the childish giggle becomes a more guttural, spluttering shriek. Something hits him hard on the back as he runs and forces him to the floor, where he loses consciousness. End of Act 1. Act 2. We open with Amy rushing to hospital as she's heard that Scott got attacked in the woods. All of Scott's family are present and reassured that he's a bit battered and bruised, but okay. She enters the hospital room to find Scott cheerfully eating his way through a pudding cup, while recounting a story to a few of their friends. There's a large number of sweet wrappers and empty pudding cups scattered around the bed, because I've heard pudding cups is a big thing in hospitals in America. A little bit of local knowledge there. That evening everyone has left, leaving just Amy half asleep by his bedside, when she's woken by the sounds of movement.
I feel like Amy needs to cut and run. Amy, come on. We all know how this is going to go down. At this point, you just sigh, you draw a line under it, you say your goodbyes there, and you just go. You get in the car and you just second start on the left, straight on till morning. You don't look back.
I mean, that's how you ended up here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
This is like word for word.
Exactly how I ended up.
Yeah, I've stolen all this from
my true life story.
Yeah. Which
you can see on the ID channel. Or for those in the UK, Pick.
Yeah, it's always on after dark.
Or read about it in Chat magazine. Sorry.
Amy is half asleep by his bedside and is woken by the sounds of movement. Scott has left his bed and is crawling across the floor, chewing on the empty wrappers and leftovers of his earlier meals. The corners of his mouth are cut by the plastics he's been biting into, like the empty cups have sort of scored his lips, that kind of thing. There's an exchange between a frightened Amy and a manic Scott. During this, Scott's skin becomes increasingly pale and pallid. All the while he's begging her for more, but isn't clear what he wants more of. Suddenly he abandons talking to her at all and crouches on the floor. He begins to giggle and his skin begins to move strangely, but is no longer connected to his body. Amy cries for help, pushing the alarm, assuming he's having some kind of seizure or like a bad reaction. Because obviously he has been attacked. So
and he's in hospital. Yeah.
Exactly, maybe he's been stung or something. A doctor and nurse enter the room, and alongside Amy they watch as Scott transforms. Pale fingers reach from inside his mouth, bloodlessly stretching his lips apart. Soon a long white arm follows. Slowly
coming out of his mouth.
Crawling out of his mouth, stretching his skin.
Nice.
Slowly, a white skeletal creature with sunken eyes climbs from Scott's empty skin. It falls upon the floor like a sick stillborn calf. It is a Wendigo. So now I'm going to cut here just to quote, because Wendigo is a kind of Native American sort of spiritual creature attached to hunger and starvation. I'm going to read the actual, not official, but like how they are described within that culture. The Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation. Emaciation. Sorry about that. Its dissected skin
has also become emancipated.
Yes,
from Scott's body.
Yeah. Its dissected skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushing out against its skin. Its complexion the ash grey of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. The Wendigo looks like a gaunt skeleton, recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody, unclean and suffering from the suppuration of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odour of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. So that's what we're dealing with. There we've got some Wendigo in this shit.
Hell the fuck yeah.
Mate, it's all fucking Wendigo from here on out. So the horror of the situation hits the doctor first as she rushes out of the room to call security. The nurse attempts to push the paralysed Amy after her, and the newly born Wendigo giggles, stands up and smashes the overhead light, causing both the nurse and Amy to scream as they try to escape. The Wendigo grabs the nurse's hair and pulls her back into the room. We do not see her fate, but the sound of snapping bones and ripping flesh make it clear that she does not survive. This begins the largest portion of the movie as the Scott Wendigo creature begins to murder and feast its way across the town. Seemingly it appears to be tracking Amy. She goes back to Scott's parents' home, where the creature has beaten her to it. It kills everybody there, including Scott's parents, but not Amy. She then escapes to a nearby friend's house, where again the Wendigo devours those closest to her. Once the creature's head to her place of work to feed there, she realises that it is still at some point Scott, and is feeding on the people and places that matter to him. She comes to the conclusion that she must try her best to stop the Wendigo that used to be her fiancé, as she sets about hunting the bastard. Because, he's basically eating everybody she cares about.
Yeah.
So that's mainly Act 2.
I mean, at some point, it will get to things like, it will go through tier 1 people she cares about, but eventually it will get to, like, the people behind...
Postman.
The postman, the guy serving fast food.
Yeah.
Like, the guy behind the counter at the garage.
That guy she always catches eyes with, going to an off license.
You need to be able to buy confectionery and cigarettes and stuff. Like, you can't do that if fucking Wendigo's going and taking it out.
Everybody. I mean, you want to see a comfortable face now of someone you know.
Yeah.
The Wendigo,
or even vaguely recognise.
The Wendigo, mate, doesn't like that.
Yeah.
He's all about that.
Yeah.
So, using the knowledge of their life together, she managed to save a lot of their friends from the Wendigo when it attacks their favourite bar by beating him there. That some part of Scott remains is evident by the Wendigo's reluctance to actually kill and eat Amy. So they sort of face off, and maybe he will kind of hurt her, slash her slightly. But
I'm thinking Alien 3.
A little bit like Alien 3, yeah. So there is like a recognition there, and she picks up on that.
Oh, and just at this point, if anyone hasn't heard, just a quick note that on Audacity, you can listen to the audiobook of the screenplay of the film of Alien 3. I just mentioned that because I've served that ad probably 50 times a day, and I'm never going to listen to it. So, if anyone wants to know, the Audacity seem really fucking keen that people listen to that particular audiobook.
I've heard it's a belter. Stephen Fry reads it.
I would listen to that, yeah.
It's weird when he does all the voices.
It's like the 8th Harry Potter, because he did all those, yeah.
The B story of the movie revolves around a town deputy called Callian, Cal to his friends, with a Native American background who at once recognises the creature from the attack at the hospital as a Wendigo, from the stories from his folks, because it's a kid story pretty much. He's linked to Amy and Scott's friendship group. He joins forces with Amy, non-romantically, to help stop the monster. He fights still believing that Scott can be saved, as the Wendigo joins with souls that have a great starving hunger within them. And he doesn't think Scott is like that, because Scott's a good guy, he's generous and he's kind. He's a good guy.
No, it's great. And this is where I always think, well, this is where I separate from horror movies, because I wrote Scott off when he was in hospital before the Wendigo even climbed out of his mouth.
To be honest, mate, he still lives in his parents' annex.
So I was just like,
done.
Oh, get out of there, Amy. Like, come on.
But I mean, obviously they've all grown up together. It's a very small town, so there's a certain amount of connection between them all. So he doesn't believe that Scott has a starving hunger within him.
He's such an optimist, this guy.
He is bloody cow, mate.
Yeah.
I'm even writing him as furious. They've got spit for all over the page. So he believes that Scott will be an imperfect host and thus could be saved. His family tell him that to kill a Wendigo, he must either get the soul of the host to reject it or remove the monster's heart and then shatter it. This is all, again, reasonably accurate to what they sort of believe.
To the folklore, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the movie's climax takes place in the woods where Scott was initially attacked. So the Wendigo returns there after Amy and Cal severely injured the creature in the bar. So the bar's going to be the main sort of action point of the movie.
Is that what, beginning of Act 3 then? The bar
end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3 sort of thing. So you'd have seen the Wendigo just eating people and just devouring most people in the town. They managed to turn the tables on him using what they know, and also Amy's sort of imperviousness essentially to wound the creature quite severely. They're confronted in a muted dark patch of the forest where there lays an old man's body on the floor, who's revealed to be the last host of the Wendigo. His body is emaciated and skeletal. The Wendigo's wounds begin to heal in front of their eyes. Cal attempts to reason with the monster using details of Scott's life to calm it. Amy, however, realises that Scott is a perfect host for the Wendigo, as he did have a starving hunger in him, and that was for the past. His inability to move on with his life was like a hunger that could never be fed. So again, that's the sort of way in for it, really. The Wendigo goes to attack the pair, injuring Cal, but not killing him, just injuring him. But Amy refuses to back down. The creature's eyes then become more like Scott's as it drops to its knees, exposing its chest. Amy then cuts Scott's heart from the Wendigo's body, with her face streaked with tears and blood. The heart is pumping, but it is stiff and brittle like a pine cone. She smashes it, both freeing and killing Scott.
Nice.
That's the end of the movie.
Wow.
So that's a bit more of a concise story than I'd normally tell.
No, it's nice. I like it, man. I like it. I think I love Wendigo. Obviously, the only other film I can think of with that is Pet Sematary.
And again, because
the original, obviously, I haven't seen the new one.
Because the Wendigo became a sort of a little bit of a metaphor for, and again, I'm using the quotations of the time, of a kind of like the white man's hunger. Because quite often, if like people were taught to like cannibalism, the Native Americans who found them afterwards said, "Oh, the Wendigo got them." Yeah, it was influences here, so I used a bit of that as an inspiration because I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
And it's meant, like in Pet Sematary, it's used as like a corrupting influence.
Yes.
So again, similar sort of thing. Yeah. Whereas in that is obviously the hunger is for his family. But in this, it's for his own, like, because one thing that I also quite like, not like, but one thing that I'm aware of is that nostalgia is one of those things that it's a hunger that makes you starve. And I think that kind of ties into a little bit of what the Wendigo would kind of go for. Sometimes people's inability to sort of move on.
I guess for me, the main question then is where are we deriving the horror from here? And by that I mean, so for a creature movie, which I think this one feels more in that direction.
Yeah, very much like a werewolfy sort of thing.
Right. So normally for a creature movie, I tend to think that the less that you can show the creature, the scarier you can make the film, and then you can have a reveal, towards the end or the third act or whatever.
This I've kind of gone a bit different with that.
Yeah, but did you or did you not? I mean, because you've got an opening scene, but that scene doesn't have anything in it in terms of we're not seeing the Wendigo there. The next time we see it is when it crawls out the guy's mouth, but you could have it get sort of like a third of the way out, or even just get its arms out before the light smashes, so the rest of it's implicit.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, you could do that.
Then you could do a lot, your second act where, it's basically working its way through the town.
Yeah.
At no point do you really have to show
the
monster. You could just show bits, flashes, like enough to scare, but you keep that question in the back there. Like, what is it? What does it really look like?
Because there is definitely a supernatural element to the Wendigo by its nature. So, like, when she goes to, like, the parents' house, and that's going to be the first real cost, because that's going to be two people that you've invested in and have been defined as characters. Whereas, like, the nurse dies, but, again, it's grist for the mill, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Whereas Scott's parents, but you could have it where Amy arrives too late there completely. The Wendigo's come, fed, and gone, because obviously there's a certain amount of stress to the whole situation.
And also, presumably, like, we don't know, the characters in the film presumably don't know it's a Wendigo yet. I mean, at some point,
only really Cal has any idea.
Yeah, what was Cal's full name again?
Callian. The reason I chose Callian is because it means the defender of life. In Native American, I don't know what particular Native American it was. More research is needed, but because I thought his character being the one who's trying to defend Scott more, whereas Amy being closer to Scott knows from what's been told about Wendigo, she can spot already that he is incredibly vulnerable to that.
Yeah,
and maybe when they're like, "Oh no, we can save him," she's like, "I'm not sure it's going to be that easy." As much as she would love it to be, she's a reader. She's a pragmatic person.
I feel as well, one thing, sorry to interrupt, but one thing I feel we'd have to inject into the screenplay is a fair amount of arguing and exposition around what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
Because obviously we know, because it's a horror podcast and we know you're pitching a horror movie, so we're making a whole load of assumptions. But for the again, were it to become a screenplay, the characters at some point are going to be like, what the actual fuck is this, and what the actual fuck is going on?
See, I think you could do that because in my mind, the whole thing takes place over, say, maybe 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
So it's a very quick narrative, very, very sort of choppy. One thing I really want to avoid in this is any kind of mystic wise people. Because I think that's a terrible trope. I don't think it works.
I just assumed that you had it, the ending was that they used the Dreamcatcher to beat him. Yeah. I guess I read in between the lines.
Sorry. Yeah, Cal's wearing a full head of feathers. I mean, obviously, he's a small town cop. So I wanted to, so when they meet Cal's parents, again, it's not sort of like, on the edge of town, there's a woman, 120 years old. It's just like, this is a kid's story, and it's like, I've just seen this play out in exactly the way that it's described.
How would you feel about having a secondary thread in there where... And this is clumsy and clunky, but just to try and illustrate what I'm thinking, the police maybe think that Cal is doing it. You know, commonly in these kind of things, a nice secondary string is to have somebody not believe them, and so they're fighting on two fronts.
Yes.
They're fighting the reality of the horror they're facing, and then they're fighting, say, the authority or an authority figure or a series of authority figures who don't believe them or who have misunderstood what's going on.
You could definitely have the rest of the police force doing that.
So another question I have, though I don't know much about the Wendigo mythos, if you will. I mean, I know in comic books it's represented as a thing, so as a physical entity. But certainly, I understood that perhaps there's an intangible element to it too. Am I correct?
It is definitely a supernatural thing. It's definitely, from everything that I've read, it seems to be more about a possessive spirit, more than it is an actual creature. Although the creature does have attributes.
So you could fold some of that in as well for some of your scares, for some of your deaths. Even you could have stuff where it isn't necessarily tangibly doing something to somebody. But it's the malign influence.
Definitely. I mean, because at one point, I mentioned, they go to a cinema quite often. There's a whole scene you could set in a cinema where the creature's not beaten, and just kills a load of folk.
And they should be watching the original Pet Sematary.
Obviously, that'd be amazing. That'd be really cool.
I think that's a cool story, man. I like that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of cool North American mythology. Coincidentally, I was reading up on the Mothman stuff.
Yes,
yesterday.
Very interesting stuff.
I thought it was really interesting. But I tell you what I love about that story, right? The moth. So for anyone that doesn't know, I'm sure everybody does, but for anyone that doesn't, during the late 60s and early 70s in, it's Ohio and Virginia, I think. And there's all these sightings of what they say is like a 7 or 8 foot tall, humanoid looking flying creature, but without a head, and the eyes are set at a kind of shoulder level and stuff, right? And loads of different people, seemingly, see or have sightings of this creature at night. None of them are during the day. But here's the thing, right? So here's what I love about this story, is that at the end of it, the sightings stop when there's a massive tragedy where a bridge collapses I think it's called the Silver Bridge. I could be getting that wrong. I forget what town it is, but it's in one of those states. But the point is, all these sightings for years, and then a bridge tragedy happens where a bridge collapses and a lot of people die. I think it's about 50 people. So it's, and then there's no more sightings, right? Yeah. So what's the natural, if you take those two factors and just ignore all else, what is the natural logical conclusion you would draw from that? What would you think?
That a moth was to warn people about a bridge.
You fucking know.
I know moths. I know men. If I know moths, I know moths try and warn.
So that's what I honestly, that is exactly what people think.
Course,
and I'm like, that is the fucking most stupid natural conclusion. You could the first natural conclusion you would draw from that is that if it was a person, they were one of the 50 people who died.
Well, mate,
not that they were trying to warn people about the bridge, and then because that theory, if you go by that theory, you're like, okay, well, he failed at warning people about the bridge. He also was never around the fucking bridge, FYI. Like, if you're trying to warn people about the bridge, you need to be flying around the bridge.
Mate,
going,
he's a moth.
Don't go on the bridge! Don't go on the bridge! Or however he would talk, right? And on top of that, so it doesn't save them. The bridge goes down, people die. And he's like, oh well, job done. No, why aren't you warning people about the next disaster? Like, if this is your thing, this is your raison d'etre, is to quote-unquote warn humans in the most kind of bizarre and unrelated ways.
You would assume he would have been in New York on September 10th.
So it's like, the first people that saw him were like a group of like 5 fucking forestry workers or something, at night. And it flies...
A lot of spin on the way you said that.
At night, 5 forestry workers, and it flies over them. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we saw this thing fly over us at night and it had red eyes. Yeah. Well, I know, to me, I was like, well, that's a warning about a bridge collapsing. What bridge could it be?
Yeah.
Let's work this out. Mate. It's the most fucking stupid... Like, it's unrelated. It's not even like there's a thread you could jump from one to the other. It's completely unrelated. And they're like... So if a bridge hadn't fallen down, there could have just been like a house fire or like a Burger King collapses or something, and they'd be like, oh, well, you know, no one's seen Mothman anymore, so he must have been here to tell us that Burger King have run out of barbecue sauce, or, you know what I mean? Like, that must have been why, because it coincides, the dates match up. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't remember.
Take that, Mothman.
I can't remember why I was starting that now. I
went on such a rant. By the Mothman
I was incensed by you fucking knowing exactly where I was going with it.
I just know how Mothmen work.
No, they're bridge warning creatures. Traditionally, like, if you look up the mythology of Mothman, it's all about bridges, engineering of bridges, warning.
That day when I jumped in the pool with my phone, I saw a Mothman. Right on top of the hotel, just sitting there looking at me. I didn't heed his warning. Well, and it cost me a phone.
By that point, the warning was too late.
Yeah, I was in the pool.
Wasn't it? But ironically, or not ironically, I keep saying ironically, but I mean coincidentally, no more sightings after you brought your phone. Right? Since. Not warning you about anything else, is it? No. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Twat.
God, I wish I could listen back to the start of this rant and figure out what my point was going to be in relation to your story, but. Well, it's Sunday morning rant. There you go, Mothman. Honestly, and there's a film, there's a film about Mothman which I haven't seen.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. You've seen it?
Yeah, it's Pierce Brosnan. I want to say.
It's Richard Gere.
Yeah, you know, same person.
Yeah.
An older actor that I've got no opinion on whatsoever.
You know, when I was reading about this stuff yesterday, and I ventured onto the Wikipedia and I saw that there was that film with Richard Gere, and my mind immediately, because I'm thinking horror. And then suddenly Richard Gere's name's mentioned. All I saw was just an arse parting and a hamster clawing its way out like of a sphincter. Which I think is fucking horrific as a visual.
That's a true horror.
As a visual, and if that's just a shot, you just hold that shot for the full time it takes. You don't cut away. You don't blanch at the horror.
So that's Dave's pitch for the week.
It's just 2 hands dragging cheeks apart. And a hamster desperately clawing its way out of a sphincter. Like there's a fire inside.
Wow.
There we go. Right. I've got a slightly off topic.
Yeah, I mean, just a touch.
What about names? You got names? You got a working title?
Oh god, no, I haven't got a name really. I wanted something like Hunger or Empty or something, but I couldn't think of anything. An Empty Skin, maybe.
Empty Skin, yeah, that's quite good.
Because I also think as well that's an apt metaphor for nostalgia in general. In a weird kind of way. That
you can force it to fit.
You can. Like nostalgia, it looks like something, but it's actually nothing.
Oh yeah, I got nothing. So if you've got a good title for John's movie, please do tweet us. It's the easiest thing to do.
What a knockout of the park end. I've got nothing.
Yeah, anyway, well, look, I guess that's about it. If you've got a good title for John's movie, if you've got some ideas you want to share...
to be clear, if you've got a better title. Because I think we've got a good one.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you're saying, oh, we've only got shit ones.
No, we've only got one.
Yeah.
And normally I like to have a couple for us to choose from.
Sorry, one for the international markets.
It was like, I like to have a couple for us to pick from.
What would you call the film in Asia, for example?
Yeah, write in with ideas for that. Tweet us at LeManPod, email us at letsmakeahorrormovie@gmail.com. And generally just get involved. If you didn't think this episode was fucking amazing, then previous couple
on your bike.
Previous couple will they'll fill your boots because they're They weren't recorded on a Sunday morning after we've all had long drives.
Yes.
Cool, well, let's make a horror movie.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Ta-ra.